the reason it's a symbolic reality, so that would be the Great Father, let's say. The reason that's a symbolic reality is because you can't see a hierarchy. Like if you look at the world, you don't see a hierarchy, but chimps know exactly where each chimp is in the hierarchy. So for example, a low-ranking mature chimp won't attack a high-ranking juvenile, even though he could tear him apart, because he knows that juvenile is actually an illusion. The juvenile is the juvenile, plus all the other chimps that will come to his rescue. Right, so he can't perceive the hierarchy with his eyes, but he can perceive the hierarchy with his emotions. Okay, so that hierarchy is essentially eternal. It's at least 350 million years old. And we perceive that all the time. We look at hierarchical posturing, we live in hierarchies of competence mostly. So that's a universal truth. And the fact that you have to struggle with the fact of the hierarchy is also universal truth. And you actually see this being played out to some degree in the leftist feminist arena, because really what's happening is they look at the hierarchy, let's say the male hierarchy. They don't attribute it to competence. They attribute to it power. And they make the presupposition that you get to the top by being the meanest, most exploitive creature possible. And so these are often damaged women who've never had a good relationship with a man, and who can't distinguish between competence and power. There's a big difference, because a hierarchy that's only based on power is a tyranny, but a hierarchy based on competence is something that gets things done. Like, that's exactly what you want in a hierarchy, is that the competent people climb the hierarchy so you can tell who's competent at the top. And you made reference to the chimpanzee work. I mean, Frans de Waal has showed quite clearly that unstable chimp power hierarchies are based on tyranny. So it is that the ugliest, meanest brute of a chimp gets to the top. But like as soon as he has a bad day, then 2-3/4 as strong chimps tear him into pieces. And the chimps that manage to maintain power at the top, or let's say authority, because that's a better word, because we got to get our words right. That's a chimp that has friends and that engages in reciprocal grooming and that pays reasonable attention to the females. And so it's so interesting to see that, because it shows that even at that level of biological organization, there's already a morality of leadership.
Yeah, and where that strikes me as so interesting, and I try to explain this to people all the time, because, well, in the SEAL teams, again, you might think the same thing. Well, the biggest, toughest SEAL that can destroy everyone else is going to be the leader that everyone looks to. And it's just not true. And in fact, a lot of times those guys that might be the biggest and the strongest and the fastest, they're actually arrogant as well, because they think they can beat everyone, and no one wants to work for those people. And so it happened when I first started my consulting business, and I would have, a CEO say, "I can't wait till you come in and just whip my people into shape." Mm-hmm. And I'd say, well, you need to find somebody else that's going to whip people into shape, because I don't do that. And they couldn't quite put together that me wasn't into whipping people into shape. And what I wanted to actually do is teach people to lead and to lead people myself. And when you're leading, you're not having to whip people. In fact,
that's an indication that you're not leading.
Exactly. That as a leader, the place where I usually found myself was I'm actually having to pull the reins back on people, because they're going far and away above what I actually would even want and expect them to do. They want to go even more and do more to accomplish the mission. And that's where you want to get. And I find it interesting that, you talk about that all the time, that it's not the person with the biggest club. It's not the person that's the meanest and the most aggressive. Sure, they might rise for a minute. They might get some control, and that happens in any organization. Oh, if you've got a CEO that really, he's just a tyrant and everyone's scared of him, he can make some things happen for a little while. And then all of a sudden someone says, he wants us to do it that way? I'm going to do a little sabotage.
Right, exactly.
Just a little sabotage. Exactly. Your project that you want us to get done by October 31st, it got delayed, boss.
Yeah.
And you can go nuts and you can yell and scream, but you should have listened to me when I said we needed more time. And now guess where we are?
Yep.
We didn't deliver the product we're supposed to deliver. So you can yell and scream all you want. It's not going to get that product delivered.
Yeah, well, and if you tyrannize people badly enough, they'll actually hurt themselves to hurt you. So, they're willing to take a hit to reclaim justice, let's say. So yeah, that's really worth knowing. And so one of the things that Jean Piaget pointed out, and because he's a very interesting psychologist, and he's never taught properly, because most of these great thinkers were very strange people, and the strangeness gets edited out of their stories. And it's really too bad, because they're way more interesting when you know how strange they were. And so Piaget was obsessed with the disjunction between religion and science. And his goal as a thinker was to reconcile the two. And so to some degree, he was looking for a biological basis of morality. That might be one way of thinking about it, or at least to reconcile the idea of a biological substrate with an emergent morality. And one of the things he said is, okay, imagine two systems. All right, so both systems are moving towards a goal, any old arbitrary goal. And in one system, the people within it are acting under compulsion. And in the other system, the people within it are acting voluntarily. Said the people who are acting voluntarily will defeat the people acting under compulsion, because in order to use compulsion, you have to spend a fair bit of time and energy on force. And so it makes you inefficient. Whereas if everybody is together on the project, then you don't have to spend any time on compulsion, because people are compelling themselves. And so that's what he called an equilibrated state. So an equilibrated state was, well, we sit down and we have a negotiation. It's a real negotiation, so it has to be honest. And we say, okay, well, what the hell are we doing? And everyone hashes that out, and we decide what we're doing. And then we decide how that would be good for all of us, but each of us singularly as well. So if you got your family put together properly, then the whole family moves together, but everybody inside moves ahead as well. And so then everybody's pushing in the same, you know how it is in a negotiation. You actually want your interests to align with the interests of the other person, because then you don't have to worry about the integrity of the deal. It's like everybody has reasons to keep it thriving. And the idea that capitalism somehow is predicated on the tyranny of the people at the pinnacle, that happens when it gets corrupt. But it doesn't happen at all when it's working properly, because deals that aren't based on mutual self-interest and group interest simultaneously have to be enforced, usually with lawyers, and then you're done, right? You're done at that point.